Hey, what's up, ladies, guys? Welcome to Let's Fix Things. Hey, I really never made extra intros for the truck bed mini series for the 2006 Ford F350, so I just got to stitch this in here. This is the beginning of part number 2 of the modifying the used truck bed that I bought for the '06 F350. So I hope you enjoy it. Do me a favor, and if you like my content, give me a like and a subscribe. It's going to help the algorithm that much more, and I'm really trying to boost my channel up this year. So thanks for watching, and check out some of the other videos. All right, guys, well, it's another 80 to 100 degree or 80 to 100% humidity day. Obviously it rained for the first time in like a month, or at least I'm sweating a lot, like it's 100% humidity. Anyways, I got all the old weld grounded off on the subframe and the rails, whatever you want to call them, and I picked up 2 new ones. I ended up getting the full length. Somehow I measured wrong when I measured for the first time, but that was before the bed was upside down. So I got new ones, and I think they're 80 inches long. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna dry fit them. And one thing I have to do is I have to either grind out the welds on the side of the rail here, or I have to grind out the spot where those welds match on the new rails, because otherwise it's gonna hold them out 1/4 of an inch. And if I hold this side out 1/8 of a 1/4 inch and that side, it's gonna be way too wide. So I think I'm just going to grind them out on the new metal and see how they fit. Here's where I'm talking about. Right there at the bottom of all these is a new weld, or is a weld. So my beams, my new rails are only going to come up to here, and they're going to run along here, but they're going to be cupped to this one. But like I said, those welds are in the way. So I am going to get the new piece of metal. I'm going to lay it down, see how it fits, and I'm probably going to grind it out the new metal. I only put spray paint on the raw metal where I ground off the welds today, because as you can see, it's full of water. It rained today and last night, and it's going to rain all day tomorrow. So I think tomorrow I'm going to pressure wash this. I'll lift it up with the excavator, and I think I'm going to pressure wash it and get all that soot and that old road dirt off of this. And then once it's all built, I am probably going to buy a whole bunch of Rust-Oleum, those big cans. I forgot the turbos, Rust-Oleum turbo cans, whatever they are. And I think I'm going to put a real good coating underneath this. All right, well, let's get a piece of metal and let's see how they fit up along the edges here. And we'll do all the grinding today, hopefully. Our goal is 37.5 or as close as possible. See, and we're at 38. And this gap is almost 3/8 of an inch. So if I bring that side in and this side in, we'll be right at 37.5. All right, so let me mark the welds and I'll grind them down. See if I can snug this up in there. So that closed those gaps a lot. This one I can probably go in a little bit more somewhere. It looks like it's binding somewhere. So I'm gonna cut this one back a little bit more. This one's pretty good the whole way. And then the hard part of figuring that out is done. The only other thing I gotta do now is put the spacers on, and I'm gonna do those on the truck. I figure I'm gonna pressure wash this, paint it, tip it right side up, bring it over to the truck, or bring the truck over to the bed, hold it up in here, back the truck underneath it, obviously take the fuel lines off, put my spacers where I think they should be, lower the bed onto it, put my brackets on, tack weld the brackets to the truck, tack weld the brackets to the bed, tack weld the spacers to the bed, the 1.5 inch space, the risers that go here to get it above the wheel height, the wheel hump. Tack those onto the bed, lift it off, weld everything permanently on the bed, weld everything onto the truck, bolt everything. I gotta take the bumper off, don't forget. And figure out the wiring. All right, well, I'm gonna grind off a little bit more on this side. I'm not gonna show you. And I'm either gonna pressure wash it today or tomorrow. I know it's gonna pour all day tomorrow. Where's that chipmunk going? Excuse me, what are you doing, buddy? You coming to help? Get out of here, get. And yeah, I'll get it all ready. And it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna rain all day tomorrow. So I do believe tomorrow is gonna be a inside day. And then next time I get time, I will do some welding. I'll weld these on. I'm not gonna weld these on yet. I'm gonna wait till I pressure wash it. I also wanna paint these before I put them on. So I'll probably put some roll-on, brush-on Rust-Oleum on those, give it a real thick coat. That way the only places I have to worry about are the places that I grind and weld. I'm thinking out loud, sorry. I'll continue the video when I do something more interesting, I guess. Let me do some brain thoughts and think to myself instead of thinking on camera, guys. I'll be back. So since these are side specific, I hit those with the grinder on the inside. That's for my grinder, obviously. So you can tell. I'm hoping I'll be able to see them after I lather them with paint. But those are going to be facing the inside, so I'm not going to see them anyways. But I got to make sure I don't get these mixed up. Although I have a 50-50 shot at figuring it out. Just hopefully eliminate that one other process. Why wait till tomorrow for things you can do today? Well, it was already wet from working in the rain, so I ended up pressure washing it. And then I flipped it right side up, so that way the water doesn't pool up on the bottom again and I don't get more rust. And then that way, in 2 days when it's dry out, I'll flip it upside down, or I'll flip it upside down again, and I'll do all the welding, and I'll put the new beams on right there. I rinsed off the back of the truck also because I did all the grinding on the truck. So that's clean again. But yeah, it's a pain in the butt to flip by myself. My machine lifts just high enough to get it off the ground. But yeah, I'm getting excited. Looks a lot better when it's washed too. And then I'm gonna paint the whole thing, get rid of all the little spots of rust on there. All right, guys, I'm calling it for today. I will see you when I get a dry day to flip it upside down and do some more welding. So I pressure washed it the other day, and then I tipped it right side up because it was going to rain, and it rained probably like 2 inches. So I'm glad I did. So I just threw some metal primer on there that I had on any of the spots on the bottom that are going to or started to rust. I really didn't even prep it that good. You can see this chipping paint still, but it's better than nothing. It'll help. And then I really wanted to just do the inside of the rails because those are not going to ever see daylight again once I sister up the beams. And here are the beams. So those are all painted, or primed, I should say. These are all primed. So it's going to take a day, I guess, for this primer to cure. And then tomorrow I will throw some thick coat of black paint on pretty much probably everything and let that dry for a day is my plan. And then do some grinding, weld on the 2 beams, and flip it right side up and start dry mounting it or dry fitting it on the back of the truck. So I did this so that way it's that much less I have to do once it's all welded and put back together. And I knew I wouldn't be able to obviously paint inside there because that's where the channel is going to be facing. All right, I'll be back. So I just lathered black Rust-Oleum on the bottom, and I did not do this whole section here because I got to weld all in there. I'll do that after, but I still have to weld the secondary cross members on, but I'm not going to be able to get to that because it's going to be boxed in. So that's why I wanted to get some paint on there. So at least as much of it as possible has a new coat of paint on it. And these are all the parts that have to be welded on. Those are the spacers for the bed to lift it over the hump, and those are the new secondary frames that will run along the sides of this one and this one. Like I said, I just lathered that paint on there. You can see all the runs and everything. But I'm gonna let this sit for 2 days to let this paint really cure, because I put it on super thick. I actually put it on way too thick, but I wasn't gonna keep messing around with it. And then when I do the top everything you're gonna see, I'm gonna spray paint that. I'm not gonna brush that because it's you're gonna have a whole bunch of runs. But at least this way, this is protected by a couple more years out of it, is my plan, is my hope. All right, guys. So I'll be back in 2 days when this paint is cured, and then I can start welding weld the side members on it, flip it upside down, dry fit it on the truck, tack it on the truck, tack all the brackets and everything on the truck, take it all off, and then paint the new stuff that's on it, and then go from there. All right, guys, it's been about 3 days since I put a coat of paint on the bottom of the dump bed. We had some rain days in between there. I had it covered with a tarp also, but I am going to get ready now. The reason I painted it like this before I did any more welding on it is because there's some areas like on the side of these beams that I'm not going to have access to once I weld the new cross beams on there. So I want to make sure everything at least had a coat on it before I really started welding. Just going to prolong it that much longer, I hope. And then after I weld it all up, dry fit it on the truck, get it to where I want it, I'll take it back off the truck and I'll repaint it as a plan. And I'll finish painting it again and touch up all my weld spots. So, all right, well, let's get going. And I got my new Harbor Freight helmet on. They were on sale. So the helmet's better. And I got my close vision glasses on, so I can't see anything more than 2 feet away from me. But yeah, that welder is doing a lot better than my old little one. And the new wire, I'm finally getting it dialed in a little bit. I think I got to slow the wire down a little bit. The top welds on the rail, I have to grind down flat, but I'm gonna double up the welds on the cross members because that's where the support is. And once again, I just don't trust my welding. I don't know why, but I don't. All right, so let me show you the welds, and then I'm just gonna double them up again, and I get started on the other side. They look like they're still cold wells, so I think I'm gonna slow down my wire a little bit more, see if I can get more heat into that before it fills up. All right, well, like I said, I'm still learning this welder. So, all right, well, let's continue. So I bumped my regulator and I didn't realize that between that side and this side of the welding. And I realized it right before my last two welds. Look at the difference it makes having your gas on or up where it should be, or at least up higher. These welds are horrible compared to the other side. You got all the splatter. Horrible. You got the air pockets, cold. See how cold they are? That's 3 welds on the bottom too. Horrible. But now I turn the gas up, and look at that. A lot better. What do you want from a backyard mechanic? All right, let me grind the top of that rail, and then I can weld on some spacers on there. We're getting there. Well, shirt number 2, and I just had lunch and I mocked up 4 of the brackets. I have 8 of these brackets I had made right here. Let me show you what I'm thinking for mounting this thing, and we'll hopefully move on to the next layer. So the next step is, here's the brackets, what I'm thinking about doing these 4 brackets here. Take the bumper off, obviously that's the next thing I gotta take off. And then I'm gonna have these holes here that I can mount another set of brackets back here, because this is where all the weight's gonna be when you're pulling a trailer. And then up here, I could either drill a hole through the frame here and on the other side, but I got the gas tank right here, or the diesel tank, or I could put it in a cross member. I have enough room to do either one with the brackets. So I actually have 8 of these brackets made. And they're 37 3/4 inches apart, roughly. So I think that is perfect, because if I measure this, the width from here, I just have the spacers sitting on her. Those are the spacers that make up for that hump right there. So I'll have the long spacer over here. No, I'll have the short, I'm sorry. The short spacer is going to go here because it starts going up right here. So the short spacer is going to be there. It goes up over the hump. And then the long spacer pretty much goes to the frame right there. And don't forget, there's going to be 1/2 inch rubber in between the bed and the actual frame of the truck itself to get over all those factory rivets that are in there, and to cushion it. So I think if I weld these 2 spacers here, these 2 spacers here, flip the bed over. I don't have the headboard on it yet, obviously, but flip the bed over, take the bumper off the truck. I think I could dry fit it without the headboard. I'm not going to put the headboard on because I might have to tip it back over. So I'll wait till the very last to put the headboard on. So that's what we're looking at. My nice paint job is all ruined. Obviously it didn't cure all the way because I left footprints in it, but it's the underneath side of the bed, so you're not going to see it. Everywhere you're going to see, I'm going to hit with a spray can just to clean it up a little once I'm all ready. But anyways, all right, let me weld these up. Well guys, I'm at the point where I tack welded all 4 spacers on where I think they should go. And I think I got 3 little tacks on each one. That should be enough. And now I have to take this bumper off. The lights are already unbolted. So that's just unbolted already. So I gotta drop this bumper, undo all the cameras or whatever they are, all those sensors. And, take these off. Well, I could probably just, yeah, I'm gonna have to take those off. Take those off, get those out of the way. Because that's one thing I gotta figure out. Once the bed is dry fitted on here, I'm gonna have to figure out I'm gonna have to cut a hole in the frame. I do believe right there, I don't think my spacer is big enough. So I might have to take the cutting torch and just cut some notches in the frame right there. But it'll be supported in front of that and heavily behind it, because I'm gonna have the 3 big brackets on each side in the back, because that's where the weight is, obviously. All right, well, let me take this bumper off. I got to figure out all this wiring, and I will get back to you. Oh, that sure makes the truck look a lot shorter. Just took 8 inches off the back of that truck. It had those special bolts that were pressed in, and you really couldn't use, oh, look who's here. You really couldn't use any kind of wrench on the inside, so I ended up using vice grips on it. So the truck is only going to get extended back to where the bumper was originally. So I got all the wires off. I just snugged these brackets up so they don't twist on it, because I have to move the truck. And I am ready to turn that back upside, right side up. And then after that, I'll probably call it a day, because I got to get ready for dinner tonight. So I'm gonna pick up some tools, and then we'll flip that over and get that ready for tomorrow morning. All right, the first thing I got to do is tie up the wires, because otherwise they'll get ruined. I just got to tie them up down there somewhere. And then I got to bring the mini excavator over here, and I got to lift this end up a little bit. I got to put, if you noticed last time, I had a real sketchy time flipping it, because these are on the top. So what I have to do is I have to lift the bed up just enough so I could take this out and put them in from the bottom. So the chains are already on the bottom, so it'll automatically want to go right side up. So that is what I'm going to do next. And I got to do the same, obviously, on this side. Just take the cleat out, tip it upside down, stick it back in there. And I do believe all my doubled up welding, yeah, see, I welded up the headboard bracket all the way across. So everything's good except for my spacers. And then cleaning it again, and then painting it again underneath. All right, so let me wrap up those wires, which is gonna be a nightmare to try to figure out for the truck. And then I'm gonna go get the mini excavator. Well, there she goes. She's back right side up. That's that spray paint just wears right off. That's why I want to really put a good coat of paint on the underneath while it was upside down. I'm not even going to weld up any of those holes or anything. There's no point in it. It's just places for water to drain. I'm not putting dirt on this thing. But anyways, so yeah, there we go. Looks like it was factory made. I am very impressed. So now you can see the width. This is actually as wide as a truck frame. So this will overhang the inside a little bit. So that's why I had to put this is a new one. The outside ones are the new ones. So that's why I had to put those on. And these are the holes I drilled to mount the headboard to. So tomorrow's the day we're gonna dry fit it without the headboard, because theoretically the headboard should be countersunk all in here, or stick out maybe 1/8 of an inch. And I'm gonna have, this is the farthest thing that sticks out on the truck. So I'm gonna have the bed probably 1 inch off of that, I think. So we'll see, but that's gonna be tomorrow. And then the other brackets like that, I have to cut into a V so they fit in here, or I gotta try to drill 11/16 hole here and on the other side. Ideally, I'd like to drill a hole right about there. But I don't know if I'm gonna be able to drill that because I got the gas tank on the other side. So we'll see. And then this, I gotta grind this rust off here. And then that's where the rear angle iron mount's gonna be. So I gotta drill this hole out bigger. We'll see. We will see. So I don't smash the truck, I'm probably gonna put a sheet of plywood to protect the cab. Because don't forget, even before I'm gonna have this thing on and off a bunch of times, because I still gotta replace this back window, and I haven't even bought it yet. So I'm gonna check Facebook Marketplace, see if I could find one for this truck with a slider in it. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, all right, well, my second shirt is soaked through, so I'm gonna go switch out my shirt and continue with my day on a different project, not this. See you when I get back. All right, what's up, ladies and guys? All right, I just finished drilling 4 holes in the truck frame. All the brackets are mounted where I want them, I think. I'm hoping. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8 brackets. Let me show you where they are. They're each held on by one 5/8 grade 5 bolt, which is way stronger than they had this bed mounted originally. Just the bolt, 8 grade 5/8 bolts alone is stronger. But let me show you. I'm trying to make it easy to take off if I need to take it off also. I might even bolt the frame, put a couple bolts through the bracket into the flatbed. I'm not sure yet, but let me show you what I got. There you go. Now you can see all the brackets. So there's one grade 5 5/8 bolt up in the front, and that doesn't get a lot of weight, so that's why it's only going to have one back there. The 5th wheel hitch is right about here, so that has its own support right there. And then you have these two also, because you have the trailer hitch, which is down here. So if I do put a lot of weight in a truck, the weight's going to be over the axle. And if I am pulling a heavy trailer, or whoever is pulling a heavy trailer, you have 6 brackets right here, all bolted through, pulling for the trailer hitch that's down there. I may even, because that trailer hitch is going to be out here, I may even do some internal frame reinforcements. I have to see what it looks like once it's on. So let me zip tie all these wires up and get these out of the way. I still debating on, I might take this off. I'd leave the cross member, but take this piece off here, because I'm not going to have access to it. So that's still up in the air. And I might put this on this truck, because I don't think, yeah, see, I don't even have the tube on this truck. So I may use parts of this truck on my 01. All right, let me tie up these wires, get these wires out of the way. So the only other thing I have, oh, and what I did was these are paired up, so I didn't want to mix up the pairs. So I just tipped them upside down, that way they're out of the way. And they're not bolted. There's no nuts on the bolts there, obviously. All right, so the next thing I gotta do is I gotta cut some horse stall mat, the rubber 1/2-inch matting, to cover the frame. So I need a 2 foot minimum, and it's 3 feet long. So I'll just probably cut a 3-footer, a 3-footer, and those are the metal spacers are 17 inches for that side, that rail and that rail up front. So long as it's like 20 inches or so, something like that. And then that way the metal is not sitting on metal. And I took the gas gooseneck off temporarily because we got to figure out how we're going to run the fuel line to it. All right, let me figure out how to cut some horse stall mat, and we're good to go. And just so you know, I did not break this light up here. That's already smashed in. I'm not the one who did that. I bought the truck like that. So someone, whoever was driving the fifth wheel, tried hooking up, probably missed. All right, let me figure out how to cut some horse stall mat. If you're wondering what horse stall mat is, it's the stuff that I put over the grate on the floor. It's this stuff. It's real thick rubber. I cut the horse stall mat. It's 27 inches long. So I figure if I put it right at the end of that bracket, right at the end of that bracket, right there, those are good. I cut 2 extras in case I need them at the hump there. But now you can actually see the frame. Well, maybe you can. You can actually see how the frame bends up right there. But my spacers only go up to there. So I think the last thing left to do is to chain up the bed and try it out. Like I said, I'm not putting a headboard on until I know exactly the bed's done and I don't have to tip it over anymore. And the secret with cutting a horse stall mat with the skill saw is keep the blade only the depth of the horse stall mat, otherwise it burns and it sticks. And go fast. You got to go really fast so it just shoots the rubber out of there. Otherwise it burns. Ooh, I caught that on camera. That's funny. All right, well, let me start rigging this up. I got my 4 D-rings and I got to rig it up. I got my engine leveler. I'm wondering if that's going to help it or not. So the back half is definitely heavier than the front half. So I have the center of the chains favoring the back. This is definitely going to be a trial and error. I have to get the machine on behind it and then move all the cribbing that's underneath it, and then hopefully if I can get it to balance right here. I'm not using that adjuster. Doesn't look like that's going to work. So I don't have anything to connect this chain to it, I should say, is why. So we're going to try it this way. And I'll stand the plywood up and we just got to get it up on there. Once it's on there, we can hopefully be able to move it around a little bit easier. But the whole goal is to do it without any damage to the truck or the bed. I don't think the bed's going to get ruined. Or the excavator. We don't want that ruined either. So, all right, well, let me try to get over here and pick it up first and see what happens. And then we'll adjust it from there. Well, it's on. A lot heavier than I thought for the excavator. And I might cheat it forward. I might split this difference here. I might bring it forward another inch. There's no need to have that much space. And then, as long as I can get the headboard perfectly straight up and down, brackets line up good. There's the spacers. There's how much gap I have underneath the hump, which is basically the rubber, the thickness of the rubber. And it goes all the way down. Other side looks just the same. So these brackets, I'll do this one here. What I envisioned was these brackets would go like that. So I'll weld this to the frame. And then once it's welded to the frame, obviously I'll do it once it's all bolted like this. Once it's all bolted in, so all the holes line up all the way around, weld that to the frame. Yeah, I probably will put a weld, probably here. I'm not gonna do upside down welds, but I should be able to get a weld up there, weld there, weld there. A little bit of, maybe an inch or two there, inch or two there. And do that 8 times obviously I can't weld this bracket to this. I have to only weld this upper angle iron to the frame. But it looks like I got room to do all of them, all 8. Now the only other thing I want to figure out is this hitch. Is there a way I can bolt this here to the frame? Because I was thinking about turning this one sideways to grab this. So we'll have to see, or I'll have to, I don't even know if I need it really. Because this is all factory welded, or I should say professionally welded. But it can't hurt to bolt this to this. Even if I just take a piece of square tubing, put it on the inside, put it over there, or just take some 1/4 inch flat stock and bend it and get it over there. I can go right off the back side of this bolt, bring it over and grab this hole right there. And that'll definitely make it so it's solid. But yeah, see, here's this bracket here. Put that over there. I don't think I'm gonna be lifting this bed off as often as I thought, because it is definitely heavy for the truck. Or the excavator, I should say. Like that. And then I can weld right up the spacer, right across, right down, and then I can finish doing all my welds, because on my spacers I just tack welded it. All right, so I'm gonna back the truck up, back it up to the garage area, because this all has to be done when it's on the truck, and I have to figure out exactly where I want it. So, but it don't look bad. Here's the first look of it with the bed on it. That don't look bad at all, I tell you. Fifth wheel lines up perfectly. It's about 5 inches forward of the axle. So that's good. Then once I put the toolboxes on it, well, obviously the camper's got to go on it, the headboard's got to go on it, and the camper's got to go on it. Then I'm going to put toolboxes along the side. I got them back over there. And the toolboxes will hide that little gap right there on the camper. All right. All right, well, let me move the truck. See, like I said, this side, the brackets even line up. All right. And I'll figure out the wiring eventually. This shouldn't be too complicated. And I'm going to pick up a used window today for that. I found one on Marketplace, 50 bucks. So let's hope it fits.